Hey guys, if you're enjoying the content that I'm making, please click that subscribe button. Also remember to click that bell button and make sure to tick that box to send all notifications so you don't miss out on any videos. With that in mind, let's get on with the video. What's up guys, welcome to Monchkinz Gaming, where we take your gaming to the next level. This is Monchkinz logging in to bring you another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. And in this video we're going to be going through Cater's Lost Chapter, and of course we're going to be going through the last one, which is part 10, hard mode. But before we do start with this video, I just want to ask you guys if you actually wanted me to make a video on the Heretic event. In the past I have made videos for it, however I felt like because we had a lot of level 60 characters right now coming out and a lot of new EX weapons, it's kinda, not as hard as it used to be. So I was wondering if you guys still want me to cover that. Other than just the character events and the lost chapters. So I want to hear your guys' opinion on that in the comments down below. But without further ado, let's start this video. Now I have covered the Cavalier boss in the previous video when I did Cater's character event, but if you did miss that, here are its weaknesses, resistances, and abilities. First off, it's weak against ice, it doesn't have any resistances, and as for its abilities, it does interchange between Power Surge, which raises its attack, and Vulcanize, which raises its defense. However, it still has its trademark Iron Giant abilities, such as the normal Brave attack, which is the melee Brave attack, Leaping Swing, which is a melee HP attack, Double Slash, which is a powerful melee Brave attack. It also has Thrust Torrent, which is a melee Brave attack, plus HP attack, which also grants speed up to itself. And of course it has Focus, which grants an attack up and max Brave up to itself. So now let's take a look at the Power Surge abilities, which grants itself attack up to itself. Again, this is a buff that you cannot see, it doesn't have any frames, so you'll have to make sure you pay attention to the stance of the boss. The first off is Quadruple, which is a group melee Brave attack which attacks multiple times. It has Knight's Oath, which grants Brave to itself based on the initial Brave, and he uses Focus on the next turn if you end up breaking it. Otherwise, it will use Vulcanize, which will cancel Power Surge attack up. And now let's take a look at the Vulcanize Stance, which grants itself Brave to itself based on the initial Brave again, and this grants itself a defense up. It has access to Holy, which is the Holy Brave magic attack. Holy Rain is a group Holy Brave magic attack, and pretty much that is the only abilities that it has extra, but it can still use the normal attacks as well. Alright, now that we know the abilities, weaknesses, and resistances of the Cavalier boss, it's time to take a look at the general tips and guides. The first one is save about 80% of your abilities. Again, this is for new players who are struggling with the boss. If you are using a lot of your abilities earlier on, then I would suggest to save about 80% of your ability, because you are going to be fighting two of the Cavalier bosses at the same time. And they do have a significant amount of HP if you didn't save up your abilities. The next tip for you guys is to bring in the boosted characters such as Cater, Onion Knight, and Hope. But if you don't have these characters, other characters that I would suggest are Squall, Tidus, Cloud, Snow, Terra, Noctis, and Zidane, even with his new EX, is really good as a Brave Shaver, Vaughn, and Sarah as well. There are obviously other characters that I haven't mentioned, and I would like you guys to leave it down in the comments below who you think are good characters that I missed. And from the top of my head, I can tell you that maybe Thancred can do pretty well here as well because of his poison debuff. As for the healers or brave battery options, I do recommend Selphie, Yuna, and Lilithset here, as well as Y'shtola. And as for the summon, I still believe that Ifrit is the best summon, so I do recommend Ifrit. And if you think the fight is gonna take long, maybe Bahamut is a good choice for you. And if you want to take advantage of the boss's weakness, then you can use Shiva as well. Okay, so now that we've covered some of the general tips mainly, it's time to take a look at some general tips for the actual fight itself. Now I do have a few, as always. I give you about 2 or 3, usually 3 tips for each fight. And in this case, the first one is to actually bring an AoE HP damager like Squall in the early stages if you want. This will pretty much reduce your turns in the early stages. Squall can pretty much guarantee kill, about 1 of them, and pretty much in the other 2 that does get left behind can be HP attacked by your other heroes or characters, and basically save you a lot of turns for the bosses so you can achieve your high score. And if you don't have Squall in like max limit broken or leveled up, then I would suggest getting a support Squall and using that support Squall as soon as possible. Basically in the first turn, you can pretty much guarantee at least your Squall will get to the last one and still use its assault trigger. So there you go. That's my first tip. My second tip is to use your summon as soon as possible, or when you're in trouble. So either or. Basically this depends on your playstyle and where your summon is when you are fighting the boss. Now if you did use my first tip in using Squall early on, then you will pretty much be, I'd say, about halfway through your summon. That means it won't be readily accessible at the start of the fight. But not to worry, you can use it as soon as it fills up, or again when you are in trouble, because the bosses actually hit quite hard and might get broken in more ways than one, and they do have a high amount of max brave, which can end up killing you in one shot. So I would suggest either to use your summon as soon as possible or when you're really in trouble. Now for my last tip is basically coinciding with the second tip, basically, because Power Surge can be quite scary since it will make the boss's attack insanely high. And to avoid getting broken, you need to make sure that you have enough brave, or if you don't mind getting broken, you can use debuffs such as poison and sap to lower their brave during their turn, which means you will probably be safe from an HP attack. However, if they do use Thrust Torrent, then it can get a little bit dicey. It happened to me once. They actually broke one of my characters and actually killed one of my characters with the Thrust Torrent. But if you do want to completely avoid getting broken, then debuffs such as Attack Down is going to save you, or buffs like Protect will save you from getting broken. And that's it for my general tips and guides. It's now time to take a look at some possible party compositions, and the first one is going to be the boosted or synergy characters, Cater, Hope, and Onion Knight. Now, I haven't really actually tried this, but they are obviously the synergy characters. They do have 50% more stats, and they will do a lot more damage. The only thing that I would add to this is the Squall support in order for you to actually kill off the early stages quite quickly. And as for the summon, if Ifrit and Bahamut are my choice. For the second one is the Squall Selfie Noctis with the Squall support. This is my basically this is my team when I'm trying to kill something or finish something that is hard, because I do have Squall EX and Noctis EX luckily. So this is just my personal composition. Of course, again with the Squall support, just an extra DPS so my Squall can save his own abilities, or I can save the support for later. And as for the summon, I do have Ifrit as my preferred summon, but again you can have Bahamut or Shiva here as well. Now for my third party composition, I do have Squall, Lilith, and Sarah with a Squall support. Now I actually tried this set and I got about 113k score, so it wasn't too bad. We only need 63k for this particular event in order to get the rewards. So the idea here is to use Sarah's wound, which will inflict poison, which I do believe like reduces their brave by 70% or something like that, something insanely high. And then you got Lilith with sap, which further drains their brave. Basically, I wasn't scared at all, even though they got like, you know, a high brave when they break me. Basically those two things will kick in before they actually attack. Plus Squall does a solid amount of brave shaving as well. He has access to solid barrel plus, which is a very insanely good brave shaving ability. Plus it does have an HP attack at the end now if you have 80% more of your brave. So the last one, I haven't actually tried this, but the idea is sort of the same. Now I have Titus, Selfie, and Cloud here. Again, Titus, if you have his EX, he's fairly good, and Cloud obviously is really good as well, and you can inflict Paralyze, which can save your butt as well. Now you can change Titus with Terra because she has the ability to inflict defense down and speed down as well, but Titus does have that attack down debuff as well. Of course, you can interchange any of these characters. Basically bringing your strongest characters will basically make you clear this fight. So now that we have covered everything, my final thoughts for this fight. Well, I wouldn't say it's the hardest lost chapter, and I wouldn't say it's the easiest as well. It's somewhere in between for me. You do get that surprise thrust torrent every now and then, which can definitely like kill your characters. But otherwise, the only thing that was really scary here is if you don't actually have a good brave shaving team. So basically high DPS is a high recommendation for me. Having a extra buffer or debuffer actually really helps as well. As you guys can see, I actually brought my Cater here, which only has like level 30 crystal passives at the time when I did this, and I will level her up, but I'm not gonna invest a lot of my high shards on her anyway. But overall, I did enjoy this fight. I was fairly surprised with the thrust torrents, and I did have to repeat this a few times, but nothing that would, you know, nothing that really frustrated me in any way. So yeah, I think that's it for this video, guys. Remember to click like, subscribe, and share this video if you find it helpful at all. As always, I like to hear from you guys. Again, I would like to hear from you guys if you actually want me to cover like some of the events that we do get. For example, like the Heretic event right now that is going on right now. I know some of the usual events that we get are fairly easy, that's why I don't really cover them too much. But the Heretic event can be an exception in a way. Sometimes they can be quite difficult. I didn't find it super difficult, but it is a little bit challenging picking your characters. But you know, on the highest level, basically you get to pick whoever you want. So yeah, anyway, Make sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter as well at Monchkinz Gaming. This is Monchkinz logging off, and I'll see you guys in the next level.